In this video, I am going to explain the terminology and show you the differences between the way fibre is processed so that you can make informed fibre choices for your projects. Let's take a look. Here are lots of different fibres that have been processed in different ways. While some processing methods make fibre easier to work with, all of them have their advantages and disadvantages depending on the project you are doing. Before we take a closer look, I first want to explain a couple of terms that I will be using in this video. Scoured. This is the process of washing fibre to remove impurities such as dirt and grease. Vegetable matter. After the fleece has been scoured to remove any impurities such as dirt and grease, any grasses, thistles, thorns, etc. that remain are referred to as vegetable matter. Grease, or lanolin. Lanolin is secreted from the sebaceous glands of the sheep, and it protects and waterproofs their fleece. All fleece from sheep contains some lanolin, and it makes the fleece feel greasy. Once a fleece has been scoured, most of this grease is removed. However, there will always be traces of lanolin that remains. Fibre that does not derive from sheep will not contain any lanolin. Okay, let's now take a look at the differences between how fibre is processed. Raw fleece is fleece which has come directly from the sheep. It hasn't been cleaned and it will still contain impurities such as dirt and grease and vegetable matter. It would need to be scoured before use. As you can see, this is very dirty and it has lots of bits in it. It also feels very greasy. It also smells very strongly of sheep. The advantage of buying raw fleece is that it is much cheaper and sometimes it's even given away for free. Another advantage is that you would often buy this directly from the owner of the flock, so you can see exactly where it has come from and how the flock are cared for. The disadvantage is that you will need to scour and process the fleece yourself before you can use it, which takes a lot of time and patience. However, this can be very rewarding if you are up for the challenge. Scoured fleece is fleece that has been washed to remove the impurities such as dirt and grease. This is some of the raw fleece I showed you earlier in the video that I have washed, removing the dirt and grease. Here you can see how much cleaner it is from its raw state. Once the fleece has been scoured, it would then be ready to use or process further. Keep in mind that scoured fleece will still contain vegetable matter. Core wool, as the name suggests, is used to create the core or the inside of a 3D sculpture. Once you have sculpted your piece from core wool, you would then usually cover it with prettier fibres. However, you don't have to cover it if you find a suitable fibre in the colour and texture you want your finished work to be. You can just use it for the whole sculpture. The main purpose of core wool is to save you money and time, especially when creating a larger sculpture. Therefore, you will want to look for a fibre that is good value for money and has a medium to coarse texture. Many suppliers will offer a fibre called core wool, so this is a good place to start. Here are some examples of fibre that could be used as core wool. First, this is a loose carded core wool, which is great because you can just pull pieces off. This is a carded core wool sliver, which is a bit like a rope. And this is a cheap 56's English top. When choosing a core wool, it is a good idea to consider how you will be using it. For example, if you are going to be wrapping a wire armature, you would be better choosing a top or a sliver, as they are already processed to be like a rope. Whereas if you are making more organic shapes, loose carded core wool would work well, as you can just pull bits off and shape them. I will cover more about the differences in these processing types later in the video. This is carded fibre. For carded fibre, the fibre is scoured and then either hand carded or put through a carding machine. The carding process aligns the fibres whilst retaining the short fibres, which run in different directions. Carded fibre is easy to felt because the fibres are already running in different directions, giving them a web structure. They are already a little tangled, which helps to speed up the felting process. Carded fibre is great for 3D and 2D needle felting and wet felting. Carded fibre can be purchased as loose fibre, as a batt, or as a sliver. Some vegetable matter may still remain after processing. This is a batt. To create a batt, the fibre is scoured and then carded into a batt. A batt is essentially a sheet of carded fibre. As the batt is carded, all of the fibres run in different directions, making them easy to felt. Batts are very versatile, as you can pull off sections of the batt in chunks or strips depending on the needs of your project. Batts also make a good starting point for a wet felted background. Some vegetable matter may still remain after processing. Here are a selection of slivers. These are one of my absolute favourites to use. Fibre is scoured and then carded into a rope. As it has been carded, the fibres run in different directions, giving them a web structure. Although some vegetable matter is removed during the process, most will remain. Slivers are very versatile. If you are careful, they can be used to wrap armature. However, you cannot pull this as tight as you can with tops or roving. Or you can pull off chunks and roll or fold it to make more organic shapes. Due to the fibre being carded, they felt easily. Over the last few years, carded slivers have increased in their availability and their range of colours. Slivers are thinner than tops but bulkier than roving. Here are some examples of tops. To create a top, the fibre is scoured, carded and then combed. Combing removes the short fibres and aligns all the remaining fibres so that they all run in the same direction. If I gently pull this apart, you can see how all of the fibres are running in the same direction. The processing of tops also removes most of the vegetable matter, however small traces may still remain. Tops look like long rope. There are both some advantages and disadvantages with using tops. Tops are readily available in lots of fibre types and colours. Tops are great for wrapping wire armatures, as you can pull sections off in strips that are strong enough to wrap tightly with. Tops are also great for creating long fur or hair. However, tops do have some disadvantages. Because all of the fibres run in the same direction, they are more difficult to felt. It is also more difficult to get a smooth finish without lines being visible. This being said, if you can only get the colour or fibre you need in a top, don't despair. You can further manipulate and process the fibre yourself to make it easier to use. For more information, please see my videos on how to create carded fibre and how to add top colour. I have called this section of the video Tops and Roving. Roving is very similar to tops. It is processed in the same way and it has the same advantages and disadvantages. The main difference is that roving is thinner than tops. Here I have some prefelt and some wool felt. The difference between these is how felted they are. The wool felt is fully felted. As you can see, this is very stable and cannot be pulled apart. You can use this as a background for 2D needle felting if you use a fine needle such as a 42 gauge. Whilst it will shrink a little, you would not be able to dramatically change the structure of the fabric. Whereas prefelt is only partly felted. You can cut or rip this into shapes, stab it further, or add it to another piece or add pieces to it. For example, you could use it to create the ears for a sculpture. Keep in mind that because it is only partly felted, it will shrink quite a bit as you felt it further. I wanted to include an extra section for this video to explain and show you some common effect fibres you may come across. First, I have some locks. Locks come from curly fleeced breeds of sheep, such as Blueface Leicester, Wensleydale and Teeswater. The ones I have here are from the Blueface Leicester breed. Locks are great for adding texture and interest to your felting projects. They can be needle felted onto a sculpture and are great for adding beards or a curly coat to an animal. Or they can even be added to a wet felting project if you encase the fluffy ends between 2 layers of fibre. These are wool neps. Wool neps are a byproduct of wool processing, where the fibres have become tangled into little felted balls. These little balls are excellent for adding texture to both 2D and 3D needle felting projects and wet felting projects. However, because they have already become felted, they can be a little tricky to secure to your project. The best way to do this is by adding a thin layer of fibre over them to act like a net, then needle felt or wet felt this, securing the neps to the surface. This is Angelina fibre. Angelina fibre is a sparkly synthetic fibre which can be mixed in with other fibres to create some lovely effects. It comes in lots of colours and you can either buy a non-bondable or a bondable version. The non-bondable version can be needle felted or wet felted when mixed in with other fibres to give a shimmery, glittery effect. The bondable version can be ironed to bond the fibres to each other and create a non-woven type of fabric. You may see this done to create sparkly fairy wings. To ensure you do not miss future informational videos or tutorials, please subscribe to my channel. You can also come and join the Flock's needle felting community on Facebook. There is a link to this in the description. I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please pop these in the comments.